Welcome to my house. Go safely, come freely, and list something of the happiness you bring. Today I'm finally making a video about how to style an OP, and particularly this time I'm gonna talk about styling a long OP, so an elegant gothic aristocrat OP, in a lot of different ways. It's not gonna be only elegant gothic aristocrat styling, but also elegant gothic lolita styling. So it's kind of all the options that you can do with one long dress. So to illustrate what I'm gonna talk about, I chose to do stylings with my Joséphine OP from Atelier Pierrot. So I'm gonna go through all the ways of styling the OP, and I'm gonna add some footage of the styling that I did to illustrate what I'm talking about. So we're gonna start to talk about the more simple ways to style an OP, and then we're gonna go into the more detailed and kind of out of the box stylings. So the first way is gonna simply be to add a belt. It's just gonna add another focus point onto your coordinate, which is gonna make it a little different without changing it completely, but it's gonna add a little something more, and it's gonna be a different way to see your OP. Next, we're gonna see another really easy way to style an OP, and this way is just gonna simply be to add a corset, because the corset is gonna change the silhouette. Here we have an empire silhouette style of dress, so adding the corset is gonna make it tight at the waist and it's gonna change the shape. The main thing that we want actually with styling differently this OP is gonna be to change the silhouette of it through different ways. So you can see that even if you use a different corset, it's gonna make something totally different. When I use my Shiglet corset, which has some hanging fabric, it really changes the style compared to when I use my Atelier Pierrot Ghost corset, which has a more classical shape. Then we're gonna go on with another really easy way to style an OP, which is just to add on a jacket. Once again, you can see that the jacket is really changing the style of the OP. It's since I close it at the waist, it adds a waist, but it also adds a different shape of sleeves. So now I have princess sleeves instead of the regular sleeves that I had. I think you call it mameluka sleeves? I don't remember. A jacket adds on changes silhouette, but it also adds more texture, and it adds another color, so it also adds contrast, which is also important when you're gonna want to style the same piece differently. If you add some colors, like if you go for monochrome or for really contrasting colors, it's also gonna help change the style really drastically. The same way, adding a cardigan is also really gonna change the vibe. So here I'm wearing a fluffy cardigan, so instantly you can see that the vibe is completely different than the jacket. With this fluffy cardigan, it's more cutesy and like more youthful, instead of the velvet jacket, which has a more elegant. So this one looks more innocent. So even if it's the same base, I'm using the same base of outfit, I don't change the accessories and I didn't change my headdress or anything, but just changing this piece is completely changing the vibe of the outfit. Next, we're going with a really subtle way to change an OP, which is by changing the sleeves. Here I have a long sleeve OP, so if I add wrist cuffs, it's gonna create the illusion that there's 2 layers at the end of the sleeves. The same way, adding arm warmers or arm corset is gonna completely change the sleeves. Here I actually pull up my sleeves and added the corsets, so it's actually making shorter sleeves and more puffier sleeves with this corseted part. Really changed the whole vibes, even with just this little change. So I also added the wrist cuff, so you can see that it creates a completely different silhouette. It adds a lot of more frill around my wrist, which also gives a really different vibe, really elegant and really cute. Another easy way to change an OP is to add a bustier. With the bustier, it's completely changing the top of the OP. I also put it down the sleeves, which directly goes more into more aero styling, since the bustier that I'm using is vinyl. Next one is one of my favorite way of actually changing an OP. It's wearing a GSK over the OP. I love doing this. So depending on if you have short OP or a long OP, it's gonna be a different vibe. If it's with a short OP, it's gonna look like your OP is your blouse, but if it's with a long OP, it's gonna look like your OP is a blouse and an underskirt. I really like this type of styling, and I love pairing this GSK, this Midnight Reverie irregular GSK with my Josephine OP, both by Atelier Pierrot, because it also has different shades of reds, and I really love the contrast of it. Another really simple way to change an OP is by adding an apron. I also added a corset because my apron tends to come down because I made it with a satin ribbon. So since I don't have petticoats with this OP, it kind of slides down, so I added the corset to keep it in place. But also adding an apron like that is really changing the vibe of the dress, because it's adding some motifs with the contrast between the color of the OP and the color of the apron. So the next styling way is really similar to the previous one, except that the placement is kind of different. This time we're gonna talk about an overskirt. So here I'm wearing the Princess Overskirt by Miss Danger, which instantly adds some puff around me, since the Josephine OP is an empire silhouette and quite straight silhouette. It's making the skirt look wider, so it's changing my silhouette really easily, and it's also really comfortable, and it's a really playful way to change the coordinates. Next, we have the possibility to add a collar, which is gonna completely change the vibe of an OP, especially if you have like a square neckline or a round neckline. Instantly with any dress, it completely changes the vibe. It gives this nun feel with any dress, and it's a really easy way to just completely change the vibe. You can see that from the previous footage. If you compare to the overskirt footage, it's more playful and fun. This one is more sober. This one is more sober and just very elegant. So now we're entering a more DIY kind of styling, which is something that not everyone might be doing. So I'm wearing a shirt over my OP, and then I'm tucking the bottom part of the shirt, and then I'm gonna wear my corset on top, so it's gonna look like I have actually a shirt and a skirt. And then I'm gonna add my jabot tie, and then it's gonna give a really just Victorian vibe. It's gonna make my OP into a skirt, and it's gonna be totally different. It's a little more DIY, so you have to be careful that your shirt is really tucked in the corset and it's not coming out even in the back. And that's where the modesty panel of the corset is really handy, to actually hide the shirt so that it's not peeking through. So then I also took the long sleeves and made it peek out from the shirt, so that it creates a different styling, which makes it look like I have wrist cuffs, which are coordinated with the skirt, so that the color is a little more carried through the coordinates. Another way to change your coordinate with a shirt is if your OP actually has a square neckline or round neckline, you can actually wear a shirt underneath the OP. It's actually a pretty regular way to style OPs. You can see it a lot by Moi-même-Moitié. They did it a lot, especially if you look at photo shoots from the Gothic and Lolita Bibles. Often in the Gothic and Lolita Bibles, you could see Manasama wear some OPs, kind of like this one, with like shirt sleeves, and actually have a shirt underneath. And now I'm introducing another way of styling an OP, is actually wearing a skirt on top of it. Here I chose to wear a long skirt, so I'm wearing it on top, and I also added my long skirt type of panier, so that it gives more flair and it looks really like a skirt with a blouse. So my OP is becoming a blouse, but also an underskirt, because you can see that at the bottom of the OP is actually peeking through. Since it's a long OP, I can also use it with this kind of underskirt vibe. And this type of styling is also really easy with a short length OP, because it's gonna directly look like a blouse I do it a lot with my mini coquelicot OP from Valelis, which has extreme princess sleeves, so I actually use it as a princess sleeve blouse all the time with my GSKs and skirts. The only important thing is that you will need a corset because you will hide the waistband, the elastic waistband of the skirt, but also the elastic waistband at the under the bust area that the OP has. So now I'm gonna show you a very creative way of using a long OP. So in this styling, I'm actually using my experience that I had of wearing a kimono with a nakama, because if you have not worn a kimono with a nakama, you don't know, but the kimono is actually shortened under, so that you have your akama on top. So here I'm doing kind of this same technique. So I'm actually using ties which are called koshihimo that I actually used to put on my yukata. It's actually used to keep your yukata in place when you choose the length of the yukata, because it's all standard length, so everyone has to adjust it to your own length. So to actually adjust it, you use a koshihimo, and then you also use a koshihimo to create the little bump that comes down to hide actually the over koshihimo, and then you have the obi belt on top. So I'm using this koshihimo to actually keep my OP in place so that it's shorter, and then I'm gonna put on a panier and a short skirt, and you can see that my actual long OP is gonna become a blouse with a short skirt. So this is a really particular way to actually style a long OP, but if you really like the top of your OP, it's actually a nice way to actually be able to use it as a blouse without buying another blouse. The next technique to style your OP is gonna be to create a bustle. So you wanna take a safety pin, and then you're gonna pin the bottom part of your skirt around your waist, and then you can hide the safety pin with different ways. So you can use a corsage. I'm actually using in the footage a corsage from moi-meme-moitie to hide the safety pin. I also added a corset so that it gives a nice silhouette. So creating a bustle like that will directly give a kind of burlesque vibe. And obviously in the end you can combine a lot of these different styling tips, put it together a coordinate by using my Miss Danger overskirt. On top of it I'm using my Shiglet restrained vest. I'm also using the arm corsets, so I'm giving a really gothic vibe to this OP right now. With this styling I'm giving a really elegant but also really edgy vibe to this coordinate, and I'm actually introducing a lot of black, so the black is actually balancing really nicely the red of the OP. And I'm presenting you another combination of these styling tips. So I'm wearing the OP with my midnight reverie irregular GSK. On top of it I'm also wearing my moitié jacket, so it's adding a lot of different shades of red this time, so we're concentrating more on the reds, but I'm still adding the arm corsets and the wrist cuffs so that I have some black peeking through, which is reminded all over the coordinates. I have some on my hair with the Headdress, I have some at my neck with the choker, but also at my hands and at my feet. So I'm trying to keep it coherent through the outfit, but we're concentrating more on the reds and also adding a lot of textures with lace, velvet, and also this really particular fabric of my Midnight Reverie irregular GSK, which is a little like a parka fabric. It's really interesting fabric. I don't really know how to call it, but I'm really interested in this fabric. And we're done now. That was all of my styling tips. The only one that I have left is maybe you can use an underskirt, but it's gonna work with a shorter OP. With this OP it would be complicated to have an underskirt which is long enough to pick under the bottom of the OP, and I don't own an underskirt unfortunately, so I wouldn't have been able to introduce this tip anyway, but I still wanted to mention it because I think it also gives a really nice vibe. It can transform even GSKs into long dresses, so it's also a really versatile piece to have. So you can tell me in the comments which styling tip was your favorite, if you have already used some of these tips, and what is your favorite way to style a long OP in general, and if you have not yet, will you actually try some of my styling tips that I mentioned today. So, and if you have any ideas of future videos you want to see from me, please give me a comment. I'm always open to hear recommendations. And if you like this video, you can give it a like, and if you want to see more content from me, you can still subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna try to continue posting. I already started working on my next video, so I hope that you will like it. We're gonna talk about styling again, but a little different way of styling, so I hope that you're gonna like it. Anyway, I'm not a reference in terms of styling. I only started wearing lolita in 2021, even though I love lolita since I'm in junior high school, so it's been years and years that I'm watching lolita, but I started only wearing it recently. And also I'm kind of a rebel, so I don't follow strictly the rules. I try to keep it cohesive in my own vision of lolita, and also my inspirations in lolita are a lot of visual kei penmen, so there's also a lot of breaking the rules with them. I just want to precise that I'm not a styling reference in any way. I just want to share my way of styling fashion and how I like to see the fashion, and if there are people who actually like the same stylings and stuff, I'm happy to share it. And I also want to share it because maybe some people don't think about this way of styling, and maybe they will like it, and we can style it this way together. I'm not in any way saying that you should style your lolita in a way or another. It's just a way to show how I myself can style my lolita and how I try to be creative with it, and that I maybe not follow the rules really well. So I hope you like this video, and I hope that we can meet each other in my castle again next time.